All right, let's try this. So this is the first time I'm doing something like this. But I am a big fan of Game of Thrones. More of the book than the show, but the show is still pretty good. I think it's tough to gauge where everything is going because, well, it's the third episode in of a 6-episode season, and well, spoilers before anyone comes and listens. I just want to let people know, hey, there's spoilers here. All right, so I'm assuming that you watched this because it's been like 4.5 hours since no wait 3.5 hours. So if you watched it twice, you could watch it twice and you would finish it. It's like an hour and 15 minutes or so. It's a pretty long episode. It's a very battle heavy episode, and again, you're gonna see spoilers here. So one is Ghost. You'll see Ghost again very, very sparsely, but he does show up. What's interesting is that he doesn't stand by John's side at all. He's with oh man, why am I forgetting characters? The guy who guards Danny. Man, I'm horrible at remembering names right now because I've been getting this already. But anyways, yeah. So Ghost appears in maybe 2 segments, and then you don't see him throughout. You don't know if he survives or if he dies. So that is that. That's it for Ghost. Pretty much Ghost and the dire wolves have been an afterthought in the show. There was a hint of gosh, what's her name? I'm gonna have to bring up the cast list. I'm forgetting so much. Sorry, gonna bring it back. Let's see. I am getting horrible at names. All right, so Jorah Mormont. Yes, that's his name. That's where Ghost hangs out with in battles with Jorah Mormont. Arya Stark. It's a big episode of Arya Stark. But again, I believe it was Nymeria, the lone surviving wolf. Arya meets up with in a previous season. I forget which episode, but you see the dire wolf that's still alive. That's just with other dire wolves, or leading a dire wolf pack, or maybe just a wolf pack, a big wolf pack. But you don't really see the dire wolves at all. They're just kind of an afterthought. I don't know whether if it's for budget concerns or story concerns. We may see the direwolves again because the direwolves had or seem to have a big impact in the books. Whether they're gonna have a big impact on the show or not, we'll see. There's 3 more episodes in. I would say close to about 3 or 4 hours. Now, if we're gonna break down the show, the rest of the season, you've got about 3.5 hours with 3 episodes. I would guess they're gonna try for 4 hours in the last 3 episodes, and I would also guess that half an hour is gonna be a kind of like a ending of sorts. Is kind of what happens to everyone. So then you got 3.5 hours. I would say the build-up isn't gonna be as big to the Battle of King's Landing or wherever it is. Maybe it's half an hour, probably a whole episode. It just whole episode of building up to that battle. I think they would waste their time on that. So we're seeing a build up in episode 4. We're seeing the battle in episode 5, but it's not the complete battle. The ending of the battle in episode 6, with some other things thrown in, and then probably just a half hour at the end, just kind of finishing everything off. Now, so we may see Ghost, we may see the other dire wolves again. I think they're not going to do it. As much as I like the dire wolves, I don't think they're going to show up again. Angelica Gaudos, the episode was a roller coaster with so much energy. Yeah, there was a lot of energy. I did like that. There was it's hard not to like, it's hard to hate it. It's hard to hate the episode, but I feel like the music was good. Like, I think you've got some of the music, and I've got some of the music going in that loop. I don't know if you hear that, but I'm trying to find out what that song is. I feel like it's a rendition of a song, but I can't put my mind on it. But it's hard to have a whole hour of just action, because the action will lull. Hey, Kathy. Yeah, no problem. So Ghost, again, before I move on, Ghost is in it for just a little bit. He's hanging out and fighting alongside Jorah Mormont, but that's about it. I hope we get to see the wolves and what they're going to be a part of. I mean, I just feel like that was just a big part of Game of Thrones, especially with House Stark being the house of the direwolves, right? Okay, so we'll go next into Melisandre. I don't even know if I'm spelling that correctly. And let's see. And I like having this conversation, even though I'm still talking to myself, because I don't really get to talk with people that much, as far as like shows and things like that. Yeah, it's really that dark. It gets to be pretty dark. And why isn't this saving? That's weird. Let me see. Oh, there we go. It just took a while. All right, so Melisandre, again, you see Melisandre pretty much right next to Jorah and Ghost. Now, Melisandre appears. I guessed it. My wife was like, yeah. Because this is the big battle, the ice versus fire, and she would show up. What I think she served two purposes. The first purpose that she showed kind of leads up the second, but basically she comes in and she lights all Dothraki's warriors on horseback. They're the cavalry, and they're in the front lines, and I'm gonna get to that later. They're in the front lines, and she lights up their swords, their curved Dothraki swords, with her magic. And it was a great effect. It was a beautiful effect. When you watch it, you know what I'm talking about. And I think right when that happened, I was talking to my wife. I was saying, those lights are going to go out and pretty fast. And what happens next? The lights go out pretty fast. And I get angry because I like being the strategist. I like thinking of strategy. And tactically, you would reserve your cavalry to flank your enemy when your enemy, especially when they're foot troops, goes inwards, kind of marches towards you, especially at a fortified castle, and or against ground infantry with spears, just slow down their charge. And instead, they just went head on, didn't really do much damage. I mean, you're supposed to be at a defensive position, And the benefits with cavalry is you can cut swaths through your enemy's formations and at least control where they have to go. And instead, the Dothraki just charged headlong at the very beginning, got their butts handed to them, and then they retreated. I could see it as like a beautiful moment. Strategically, it was horrible, but the purpose of the lights and whatnot, that was a visually appealing moment, and a moment of pretty much despair. Like I can see people just kind of, because a lot of people there know how crazy the fighting prowess of Dothraki are, and they just, most of the people that are standing there ready to fight and die aren't as good as fighters as them, not even by half. Anyways, horrible strategy and tactical decisions. I don't know how. I could guess John or Danny making that mistake. I can't guess of any other commander that has commanding experience would make that move. Especially Jorah. I wouldn't see Jorah making that move of charging right at the enemy with the cavalry, not having the cavalry held in reserve. I can't see even what's that guy? Tyrion. Not Tyrion. Tyrion's brother. Why am I forgetting his brother? Shoot. Jaime Lannister. Yeah, Jaime Lannister's commanded some armies. I wouldn't see him making that mistake. But okay, let's forget about the strategic, horrible strategic move on that part. Melisandre lights their weapons on fire. Then in the middle of the episode, there's no way the dragons are gonna light there's just kind of like a moat surrounding the castle. They've made sure that moat was ready to go to start burning. And it takes her literally to the last second to light that fire on the trenches. And that was her second purpose. And that stalls a little bit of time for the good guys to recoup, but really doesn't really do much to the Night King's army. So you see her later on in the third act with Arya. She just instills Arya with purpose. And then that's it. That was Melisandre's purpose. At the end of the show, you see her just kind of wither away and die. She served her purpose. But the purpose really wasn't. The first two purposes of setting things on fire really didn't really do much. The last thing of giving purpose to Arya, that was it. That was the big deal. And it's kind of sad. That was it. That was just Melisandre's arc. And the Red Priestesses. I feel like a lot of buildup with the Red Priests and the Priestesses and the whole rare lore, the God of Light. I think that build up from all the seasons was just really cut short. I don't think we're gonna see Red Priestesses, whatever, in the rest of the season. They served their purpose, and that was the last purpose that they had. Angelica, when the walkers, there is another cool scene with the White Walkers. They just, when the trenches got lit on fire, they just the Night King. I don't know. It's so hard. I get all these names mixed up because I watch so many different things. I like The Walking Dead. So the Night sometimes I call it, is this supposed to be Night Witch? Night King. So the Night King just sends a couple of whites to go ahead and fill the trench. They're basically dying, but they become the bridge where the other whites don't start turning to fire. So that's it from Melisandre, the Red Priestesses, and the God of Light, I guess. It just feels like really cut short. I don't think we're gonna see them in episodes 4, 5, and 6, but who knows? It feels like the purpose that they had was to stop the long night. The Night King. That was it. That was it. And so there's that. Let's see. Of course, things don't go well. And I mean, it's kind of easy to sum everything up because it's just a big fight scene, a very, very big fight scene. One of the great things that you do see when they're preparing for the battle is you do see Sir Jaime on the right hand side of gosh, what's her name? Gosh, I remember her name. Brienne of Tarth. Yes, Brienne of Tarth. She's now a knight, and you do see Brienne of Tarth alongside Jaime and, of course, Podrick Payne. One interesting thing is the Onion Knight. He definitely wants to kill the priestess Melisandre, but he stops. He's the one who told them to open the gates, and he withholds his just really wanting to kill her, and he doesn't kill her, and she says she'll be dead by sunrise, and that is true. Let's see. I feel as though it's you had a feeling that people were so basically who survives. Let's go ahead. Let me try to get a new image. Even though I prepared a lot, there's still a lot of things that I couldn't get ready in time, so this is one of them. Let's see. Trying to find a good one. So, I would guess that a lot of the people you're going to expect to survive are going to survive, the main characters, because this is unfortunately having the biggest, deadliest battle ever. It's, I don't know how to say this. It's like, it's not gonna, it's not gonna end prematurely. Like, for example, you're not gonna have all your heroes die or the characters you care about in this battle that's halfway through the season. You're just not, and that's kind of a bad thing. The reason why it's a bad thing is, well, there has to be an army to fight the there has to be an army to fight in King's Landing, because everyone knows there's going to be a second battle coming up. So unlike I don't know, a lot of people, I'm not sure if I'm like a lot of people though, so I don't know what to say about that. But again, for me, what I wouldn't know is how many dragons would survive. For me, I would have thought, well, not having a dragon against the final fight at King's Landing, I would guess that there would at least be one dragon still alive, and of course that was true. I doubted that there was gonna be both of them alive at the end, especially when they have to go against Night King and the undead dragon. Let's see, Kathy. Yeah, totally. Or there would be no next. Yeah. So like I didn't see John dying. I didn't see Danny dying. Then kind of goes against the entire purpose of the next battle, all the build up to it. What is exciting though is Clegane is still alive. So Sandor Clegane. So we might see Clegane Bowl. And what drives Sandor Clegane, the Hound, is fighting for Arya. You could definitely see that he thought it was all lost, but his protection for Arya was a big factor. But the deaths, all the deaths of the well-known characters, they were pretty heroic. They are going to be stabbed and swiped at and clawed at, and they're gonna keep going. You know, that's how a lot of movies just draw a lot of drama and stuff. Is they should be dead, but they keep fighting. So who didn't survive? Well, let's not worry about that, because basically the people you expected to survive, it's they'd have to be around for the next fight. For example, Jorah Mormont, he was always protecting of Dany, but the final fight, I don't think he really needs to be there. But for example, there's no need for them to split their forces against King's Landing's army. Unlike this fight, the last fight, the fight against the Night King. So having everyone split apart and having her actually engage in battle, it doesn't happen. But in this case, everyone's kind of split up. I think the dragon fight scenes were well done. I don't know. It's one of those things when you just kind of look back at it, some of it doesn't make sense. For example, the Night King being able to bring forth that cold wind, that hail, and just to disrupt the other dragons and Dany and Jon, just to being able to see and fly at the same time and cause as much havoc as they were doing. I think that was a weird one. It's like we've never seen that power again, and all of a sudden, before, but now we see it, and I just thought it was cool, I guess, because the imagery was just so beautiful. The only thing is well, oh man, like the full extent of the Night King's powers. It would have, like when he raises the dead. Now that was an iconic moment, and we see that again. But him able to bring forward the weather like that was just something new. I would have thought that they should have built up to that and been a little bit more useful. If I feel like all they needed to do was just wait a little bit longer, wait for that, because no one's gonna stop that weather, that super cold weather. It was coming. It was oncoming. It was all they needed to do was wait. Maybe half an hour or an hour, and that weather would have just ran over the castle and hampered everybody down. The dragons wouldn't have been able to do as much damage. It's just poor planning on the Night King's part as far as strategy. But also I just don't see it as being very realistic with all the people who did survive. Just the amount of whites and undead that there were within the castle walls. I couldn't see anyone surviving all of that, but of course people had to survive. And here's I think what was wasted. There's, as much as there's so many good things to say, I have to say all the bad things as well. What am I going to call this part? Let's see. Oh yeah, wasted moments. There's a lot of wasted moments. But I guess we'll focus on this. Oops, give me a second here. Let's see, am I still streaming here? Oh, looks good. Okay. So one of the wasted moments for me was you've got the 13 other White Walkers. No one fought a White Walker at all in this episode, except against the Night King. And at first there was a moment where I was thinking, all right, the White Walkers are going to go into the castle and it's the end, right? Because everyone's fighting whites at this point, and that's what all the dragon glass was for. I mean, they mined the hell out of that one place down south, and because they could use normal weapons against the whites and the undead, they could kill them just fine again. But White Walkers, you have to use dragon glass or the special swords. I'm forgetting the special swords again. It's late. So all that dragon glass really didn't do anything, because what they're really useful for were against the White Walkers. They weren't really needed against whites and the typical undead. So I just thought that the was it 10 or 13, 11? I don't know how many White Walkers there actually are or were. But those White Walkers, all they did was stand back to watch stuff. They didn't even protect the Night King. They just stood there, watched the Night King die, and that was pretty much it. But again, it was. I'm trying to get a little image up. I wish I could find it. Is Ghost still alive? We don't know if Ghost is still alive. Ghost was fighting. Last scene, Ghost was fighting next to Jorah Mormont, and that was it. There, I think. I can't even remember if I think Ghost might have charged off with them during the initial attack, the initial charge for the Dothraki. The problem is we don't know what happened to him after that, and so Ghost is still unknown. But again, just like any other show or movie, if you don't see them die on camera, they're not necessarily dead. You have to see them die on camera, or else they're still pretty much alive. That's how usually everything works. And sometimes it's a thing that writers do. Same thing with directors, is they need they don't know what they're going to do with a certain character. So what they do is they just kind of off scene, something happens, so they can figure out what to do with them next. That's why I have a feeling that the direwolves aren't going to really have another big part within episode 4, 5, and 6. Yeah, the Night King dying was a little bit boring. I thought that too. I would have liked to see kind of like a battle royale. Let's go there. Let's talk about the Night King. But this is also part of the wasted moments. I would say is you've got a badass pretty much like the Night King, which you really haven't seen him do battle. You've seen the other White Walkers do battle, and they're pretty quick, but you never really see the Night King do battle that much. And it would have been nice to see him actually fight. It would have been great to see the Night King actually do battle in a fight, to see how different he is in a fight as opposed to the rest of the White Walkers that he has. Well, we might get to that later, Kathy. Danny throwing her jewels to the ground. What does that mean? I don't know which part, because I don't remember that part. That's weird if I didn't remember that part. Okay, excuse me. So you got the Night King, who's never fought in a battle. We've seen White Walkers and how fast and strong they were. Even John had trouble against the White Walkers. And we've got all this dragon glass that was forged for these battles, because that's the only weapon that affects the White Walkers. Yet not one White Walker nor the Night King get in any battle. That was a huge wasted moment, because all we see are battles with whites. What would have been great is to see some imagine all of that. There's like a stalemate, right? No one could pass, and so they have to do something. So the heroes, the good fighters, they go and try to fight off the Night King, and the White Walker steps forward instead. And so you just pretty much see one heroic character after another heroic character battling a White Walker, one dying, another getting injured, and having to backing off, another fight and that against that White Walker, and eventually they kill one White Walker, and then you see them keep going forward, and everyone has to kind of fall back. But every time they do kill a White Walker, that means not all the whites, but a good chunk of whites end up dying, because there's this big lead up again in previous episodes that if they killed a White Walker, every White Walker that raised the undead, those undead end up dying. So there would be a specific purpose for certain heroes to go ahead and target the White Walkers, so they could kill off a chunk of the undead. That never happens. So that was a shame. We didn't see any fights with the White Walkers. We didn't see any fight with the Night King. And all the dragon glass that was forged was just pointless. I don't know. I guess there is a little bit of a point with the dragon glass, because most of the whites undead is to fully finish them off, they had to burn them. That was like very, very early on in the seasons. If there's a white, when the undead, just the typical ones, not the White Walkers, to finish them off, you would have to burn them in fire for them to stay dead. So I guess dragon glass does help in that aspect. But still, even with that, it's still a shame that none of the White Walkers got into a fight. Same with the Night King. So that was a wasted moment. The other wasted moment, and I think they're going to save this for the future episodes, because again, maybe not strategically, but maybe tactically, there's a moment where Danny gets stranded because all these whites are climbing on top of her dragon that she was riding. And the thing is, what the dragon should have done was just fired all around itself and Danny, because the dragon and Danny can survive dragon fire. They don't have to worry about their own fire, so they just burn everything around themselves and they're fine. So the tricks that they can use, the tactics that they can have with dragon fire, they don't use it, they don't think of it. I think that's wasted. But then they just want to tell a story. Although I do love the idea that they do sometimes would throw battle elements, tactical elements within the show. That's why Battle of the Bastards was so great. But they didn't do that. Not on this episode, not in this battle. So that was kind of a shame. And another part in that, again, this is where I'm saying that they're gonna save this part probably for episode 4, 5, and 6. Is there's no way for Jon to be proven as a Targaryen unless he survives Dragonfire. I mean, there's that old mythology that only Targaryens could ride dragons. That should be seen as enough, but a lot of people just aren't convinced. I guess I don't know what people are thinking when they see him ride a dragon. It's like, I thought only Targaryens could ride dragons. So that's obviously not a big known thing within the kingdom, it appears. I mean, because you've got so many smart. You've got the guy that doesn't have no balls. I forget his name. And then Tyrion. They're probably one of the smartest people, very well read, and they don't know anything about. Hey, I thought only Targaryens could ride dragons. But another thing is what would have been cool to see, and I do know that there's some SJW take on the show. All the women, females are going to be the heroes, and that's going to be a given. But to actually have Jon Snow survive the undead dragon fire, the blue dragon flame, that would have been awesome. Because what he should know is he's able to survive normal dragon fire just like Dany would be able to survive dragon fire. Varys, thank you a lot. So Varys, right? He's very smart. He's probably one of the smartest people within the 7 kingdoms, and well, he doesn't know about the Targaryens only could survive, could ride dragons. So it would have been great to see at that last moment where we see Jon just kind of, I don't know what his point was just standing up and just yelling at the dragon. What would have been great to see is him just kind of reaching his hand out or testing something out and just noticing that like he wasn't being affected by the flames. That would have been a perfect thing to segue into the further episodes. I have a feeling that in the further episodes, the only way they're going to prove Jon is a Targaryen and that he's the rightful heir is that he's going to have a dragon breathe flame on him and he's going to survive that breath of fire. And that pretty much proves to everyone that he is a Targaryen. But what would have been great is, here's a good picture. What would have been great is just to have been able to see, just to build up to that he could have just started running, like rather than just cowering and at the last moment yelling in desperation, that he would have been just sprinting to Bran Stark and just running past that blue dragon fire. And he doesn't do that. So that was kind of a wasted moment. It just kind of made him appear helpless, and the whole buildup of Melisandre raising him back from the dead, to be Azor Ahai or something like that. And well, another wasted moment. But again, they are most likely going to show Jon Stark breathed on by dragon flame in episodes 4, 5, or 6 to prove that he is a Targaryen and the rightful heir, to validate his story. Again, look, if you look at the pictures, you've got White Walker. right next to the Night King. Just that. They weren't really good guards. Even they just let the Night King die by area. It's just been great just to have just fight scenes, not necessarily battle scenes, because battle scenes are just chaotic and it feels like anybody could die. It doesn't matter how good of a fighter you are. Just too many random things going on, too many chaotic stuff going on. I don't see how you could survive all of that. So actually having battle scenes, it just would have been great. I think that was my biggest wasted moment from the episode. It would have been great to see just how good the White Walkers were compared to everyone. And then when it finally gets to the Night King, where he steps in, you know, say John took out a White Walker, and so the Night King just kind of, you know, goes like this. It's like, hey, you know, I'll take him on. And someone steps in for John because John needs to recuperate, and, you know, have that be Jaime Lannister or something. And or I don't know who the best fighter is at that point. I guess Jorah might be the best fighter at that point, because Jaime isn't that good with one hand. But whoever it is, the best fighter at that point, going up against the Night King as John tries to recuperate and just gets handed. I mean, just it wouldn't have even been a match. And then John steps in, and, you know, he's fighting against the Night King, and, you know, he's getting killed. He's getting beat up, stabbed. You know, Night King's just playing with him. And then having Ariel come in at the last second to kill the Night King while Night King's trying to kill off John. That would have been a nice one. So just the idea of just having not just a battle scene, but just epic fight scenes one after another with White Walkers and the Night King would have been perfect. But that can no longer happen. The best we can hope for is Clegane Bowl. You could, like, the Golden Company, the leader of the Golden Company, we don't know how good he can fight. Apparently we would think that he would fight really well. And then the sailor, I forget his name, from the one with all the ships and stuff, I forget his name. But we don't know how good he can fight. Apparently he can fight really well. At least he's pretty arrogant. But those are the only two people aside from the other Clegane, the Hound's brother. Those are only 3 fight scenes we have left that we can see that could be any good of a fight scene. So and there's, aside from the Cleganes fighting each other like the other fighters, we have no idea how good they're gonna be fighting. So there's no build up to any fight scene other than the Cleganes. Yeah, it was Melisandre Kathy who dropped her ruby glamour necklace. That kept her young. Yeah, I was wondering why you said Danny, but good. That means I didn't miss anything. Okay, now the biggest wasted moment for me in this episode was Bran Stark. He's pretty much, as the battle starts, he does his three-eyed raven thing. You know, his eyes go white, and he's just took the form of ravens, and they're just flying to see the Night King coming on the dragon. And the entire battle until the end, until the Night King's presence is felt, he opens his eyes. So what he's been doing for the entire battle, who knows? Like, there has to have been something important for him to be doing all this time, right? I'm hoping that it was something important. I would have thought that he was calling on the on the wolves, the dire wolves, maybe led by Nymeria or whatever dire wolf is still alive, and the pack that she is having, and have them come and save the day. But my thought was, how are they going to kill off that dragon? I mean, a bunch of dire wolves and stuff aren't going to kill off that dragon, so they still had to figure that out. But you know, it just all ended really easily with Arya taking out the Night King by surprise. I thought that was a wasted moment, even though the music leading up to that was good. The cut scenes were good. You know, everyone. Obviously, we know that as like for me, or my wife, when she's watching, she's just really tense, and I say, like, for one, it's a fictional show. No one really dies, and second is this is. Even with all that out of the way, even though it feels very realistic, 3 episodes in, this is the halfway point of the end of the season. They're not going to kill off all the good characters because there's still a big fight scene left in the final three episodes. So it's I feel like this would have been a great fight scene if they would have left this the fight of the Night King. If the Night King survived, like, he left and said, screw it, it's well fortified, there's no point, like, he should be able to foresee certain things and go, okay, let's leave. We did our damage here, you know, we can eventually we'll get Bran. We'll get him. We'll get the Three-Eyed Raven later. There's no point. We could recoup, raise our army, retreat, go to King's Landing, etc. But that didn't happen. So we know a lot of the good characters are still going to survive. So I feel like it was just kind of, you know, as long as the Night King is dead, now we're really not that worried for too many of the survivors. Some of them are definitely going to end up dying. Let's see. Lyanna Mormont is dead. Who cares? I'm going to go cry now a whole day at work. Yes. Yeah, Lyanna Mormont, I had a feeling she was going to kill the giant. I just did. Because just having her crushed to death by the giant and nothing happening to the giant in return, I would thought that was just been too mean. I think way too. I think my problem is I think way into these things because I have all these things in my head. Is like, really, you guys are gonna just kill a child being crushed to death by a giant? And that's it. That's just gonna be the end of Lyanna Mormont. That's not gonna happen. Something's gonna come out, something big, because otherwise it's gonna be like, there's no point to that. These people are sadistic. Yeah, they're sadistic, but they made sure that, you know, she had the last say. So every death, pretty much, of important character or well-liked character, they died with some purpose and or accomplishment. No matter how minor. So that's at least something. And then I think another wasted moment, in my opinion, was there's like it felt like 10-20 minutes. It felt like a good chunk of the episode, and it was with Arya Stark. She's in the library, I think, and she's just hiding from different whites, and it feels like at that point there are just not a lot of whites there in the first place. There was just, you saw 1, 2, or 3, and you're just kind of wondering, why doesn't she just kill them? I know she's kind of out of breath, and maybe recuperating, or she's got a little bit of injury because she is bleeding from the head, from her head, and I would have thought that there would have been some build-up that would have been good. Unfortunately, there wasn't. It just kind of shows you how stealthy she is, because she's able to be very, very quiet when she's moving around. But we already know she has that ability, so having this 10-15 minute build up showing the audience of her abilities of stealthiness. At that point, I had a feeling that she was going to sneak up on the Night King and kill him. Because why else would they be showing this whole 10-15 minute part of her just kind of evading the whites with her stealth? We already know she's stealthy, and there's nothing else that was happening at that moment. And so at that moment, I was like, okay, she's going to kill the Night King. And it just kind of gave it away. And I think my problem is like, yeah, I think like a writer or a director or something, because I mean, I felt like it was way too long. It's like, yeah, we know she can move like crazy. We know she doesn't make any sound. We know she can. I mean, we seen her fight, and she was killing him left and right, even though she can't take much damage, but she can dish out a lot. And I just think there's reasons that directors and writers do certain scenes, and when it's a scene that takes a long time, it's trying to establish, for this instance, it's trying to establish what Arya could do. It already established her ability to fight. Now it's her ability to sneak around. So yeah, I get that part. But when they made it so that she was able to sneak around without for like 10-15 minutes when they didn't need to, I just thought that was unneeded. That was just kind of a giveaway what was going to happen. And at that point, I was like, oh, we're not going to see, excuse me, like an awesome fight scene. We're just going to end up seeing Arya sneak attack. That's it. And that was the case. Now, one thing that I wasn't quite sure about before was the crypt scene, because in the previous episode 2, there was 5 or 6 mentions that, you know, they should go down to the crypts where it's going to be safe, and either it was going to be safe, right, or it wasn't. And well, it wasn't. And so all hell was breaking loose, and we don't see much action as far as anyone defending themselves. Like, either it happened so quick, I don't know what happened, because I mean, there was a moment with Sansa Stark and with Tyrion Lannister. They had this little moment before they're going to go out and defend against the whites that they were resurrected from the crypts. But I don't even know what happened. I mean, I think they just like went next to the people that were still trying to stay alive. Like, I saw Varys with the kids hiding. Varys hiding with the kids. A lot of the women were like being dragged away and killed. Like, and I saw Tyrion just look at Varys, and that was it. And I don't know what Sansa was doing. I mean, either it was so quick or it was not well done, because I didn't really care. I didn't see what happened. Yeah. Hi, Ian Hildred. Yeah. I talked earlier about that. No, Kathy, Arya didn't give needle to Sansa. Arya gave the knife to Sansa. It was that special type of metal. Gosh, why am I forgetting that metal? But yeah, and the Dothraki. As from a story perspective and a visuals perspective, yeah, the Dothraki were used really well. The Dothraki, their swords on fire, yeah, that was a good effect. Everyone knows how great Dothraki can fight. So they charged on my head, and they got wiped out within a few minutes, and they came, scurrying back. All the lights went out. Right when the swords lit up and they were charging, and you could see the visuals and how awesome it looked, I knew that it was going to be a worse effect when the lights went out and how fast they went out. But I knew that was just going to be the part of the theme, and not necessarily strategically valid at all either, but it served as a purpose to see how deadly the Night King's army was. But still, like, going back, I think, again, I feel like the crypts was a wasted moment. Like, I would have liked something that would have happened within the crypts, like Caitlyn. No, it was a cat, or Cat. I forget her full name, but the mother of all the kids, for her to come out, and maybe she wouldn't been as affected by it, or something. I mean, it was just like a very lackluster moment within the crypts. That was just a big wasted moment. And so let's go back to the wasted moment of Bran Stark, because all this buildup with Bran Stark being a three-eyed raven, the new three-eyed raven, his ability to see into the past and apparently maybe even the future a little bit. And so what's he doing this entire time? I mean, we don't know what he's doing. But whatever he was doing, it had no importance at all to this fight. Nothing at all. I just don't see it. And so people who are new here, I know a lot of people who are watching from Periscope, but if you are watching on YouTube or on Vim.tv, you go to the description box. There's a link to Zoom. You can actually join me in the conversation. We can actually talk rather than me just kind of talking about stuff and reading off the chat. But so Bran, this entire episode, whatever he was doing, it had no effect on the battle that they were having. So the only thing that could have been, and this isn't ever alluded to, is possibly he was like, I don't know, maybe somewhat warging, because the thing with the Arya scene, with like that 10-15 minute scene with Arya hiding and moving around stealthily in the library of the castle, is you see kind of shimmering, you got that shimmering, like someone, like she is seeing a vision from some other animal that she can warg into. At least that's what I thought it was at first. I thought there was like a cat in the library and she was warging to be able to see from the cat's point of view, so she could see all the other whites and the zombies and things like that. There was no cat there, so that definitely wasn't that. The only thing I could guess, if maybe Bran was just working to Arya the zombies that she was seeing that she couldn't see but knew that they were there, or maybe that's just Arya's own special ability. Give me a second. Ian, how do you feel about the Night King threat being eliminated and Logs Landing, King's Landing being the real objective? Well, I think I don't really like it. I would have liked the real final battle against the Night King to have been at the end. I think yeah, like for me, I would have loved it better if the Night King just realized that he wasn't gonna take Bran, that he foresaw what was gonna happen, and thus kind of left, because I think there really wasn't much of an army there at all, and just I think he was overconfident. He should have seen that overconfidence. But who knows? I think there might be possibility that the Night King, like I feel like there always has to be a Night King. Like a Night King has to be replaced. Maybe that's what Bran becomes, the Night King. Because I love that theory that people had is Bran becomes the Night King. But who knows? And the cycle repeats itself. But I don't think that's gonna happen. So, but yeah, what like all the theories are pretty much gone. All the theories that were being talked about in earlier seasons, I don't think they're ever gonna happen. There's 3 episodes left. It's definitely the main event is King's Landing. I'm thinking that they will do a Clegane Bowl, because that's the only fight matchup that's been anticipated to be exciting. Every other fight scene, there is no protagonist fighter really that's ever fought in battle that any leads up to any excitement at a fight scene. So I would guess that the Clegane Bowl will happen to the fans of light, but there's really no other fight scene that we're all just waiting on happening. In the intro to Game of Thrones, there's still the trap that's set forth for a dragon. Remember, that was alluded to in the earlier seasons. So there is a trap within King's Landing where they could trap a dragon and kill it underneath King's Landing. And I have a feeling that's probably what's going to happen. That's probably how the last dragon gets killed. So let's see if I could find it. Give me a second here. Yeah, that was a fun, good theory. The thing is, while it makes for a good story, it just, I don't think that the showrunners would really go for it, unfortunately. And because I think what people get excited for is the battle scenes. Like, I was excited for the battle scenes. I think there's just a little bit too much. But that, again, it's trying to draw out to the majority of the people who watch. And I think it does just that. It gets them excited for the big fight scenes. It's the drama is kind of gone. Like, I think the last 2 seasons, the drama, the political intrigue, that's no longer there, because it has to move on to finale, which is the fight scene and surviving the Night King. That was kind of the last 3 seasons. And so the political intrigue is gone, the fighting is gone. It's just now just a culmination of taking the Iron Throne. And there's really nothing that they can actually just have happen without a big what would you call it? It just had to be a big backstory. Like, if they wanted to just do something like a big twist, they'd have to, if you see like a 30-minute backstory that occurs in episode 4 or 5, or maybe even episode 6, they're not going to really have a twist. That twist is going to have to happen near the next episode, pretty much. Because it's going to have to play a factor into the last episode if it's going to really do anything or mean anything. Who do you think takes the throne? All right, let's just move on to this next part. Let's see. Let's just answer questions now. Let me see. Give me a second. No, not that one. All right, so let's go with what's next. So who takes the throne? That's the next one. Who takes the throne? The thing is, we've got the prophecy of that was already said, and I think they are going to fulfill the prophecies within the show. So we may see Tyrion or Jaime actually kill Cersei. I think that's going to happen. Cersei's definitely not going to have another kid. Her beauty is going to be replaced by another beauty. So that pretty much guesses is Dany taking the throne. Yeah, or Sansa, because Sansa is also pretty, I guess, beautiful of a character. So I think it could be any of the two. I like, and there's also a thought that Jon might, but I have a feeling Jon's purpose isn't part of taking over the throne. I think that feels like an easy guess. That feels like that's something that's definitely not for Jon. It's not the Iron Throne. I don't think he wanted it anyway, and I have a feeling like he pretty much failed. Like, why he was brought back, his purpose to defend against the Night King and the Wall. I mean, he failed. Arya was the one who saved everybody. So, like, the purpose of Jon at this point, I mean, I would guess that he would be really depressed because he let a lot of people down, a lot of people died. Arya came to save the day. What else is Jon's purpose? Like, he's his lover is his aunt, and is the person who raised him right all this time, and like his purpose of coming back to life, that didn't go as planned. So I feel like Jon's gonna be kind of out of it. I don't know what purpose Jon has left. I think that's another big thing that the writers or the director will have to figure out, because I think if he's just aiming next to take over the Iron Throne, like, I don't know where he just gets that inspiration. I mean, his inspiration was first and foremost defending against the Night King at all costs, even if he had to die again. He didn't care about the throne. But now that he failed, gosh, I feel like that's just a big blow. Not just his ego, but just his purpose. Now it's like, okay, protect against the Night King. It's like, the only guess that I have with his inspiration or his purpose is to just wreak havoc on Cersei's army, for Cersei not being there to help fight the Night King. That's the only purpose I think, only real anger that people would have to fight Cersei and take over the throne is like, she lied about bringing over her army to help out against the fight against the Night King, and more people died for it probably. All right, let's see. Okay. Ooh, that was a lot of chat coming in. Let's see. Rubik's, too many people survived. Kathy, Cersei is conniving. So Sansa, yeah. I wanted to see Ned's reanimated head with blue eyes in the crypt. that would have been weird. Rubik's, I want Sansa gone. Kathy B, Bran takes the throne. Rubik's Tyrion, if it still exists. Rubik's Jamie gave up the claim. Jon kills Dany. Sansa isn't even in the books. No, what you're talking about, Rubik's Tyrion, 100%. Dany is worse than Cersei, just killing people all over the place. Ian, I'm with you on Jon. Cersei stands for family and kingdom first. Well, I think this is kind of a big. If we think about with character development throughout this episode, the ones who failed to have done anything, the big ones, is yes Dany, but not really. Like she once she knew that she couldn't, her dragon flame, her dragon can kill the Night King, and I what I don't get is when she did that, why she just had a dragon just step on the Night King. I feel like that would have been a good move. Like, I don't see how Night King could have stopped the dragon from stomping on him. There's really nothing that she could do if her dragon flame can't. She's not a fighter, so it really wasn't her ability to take out the Night King. That's kind of what Jon was there for. So Jon Snow not being able to take the Night King, I think that's one big character arc that is kind of the humility aspect of it. Is maybe it makes him rethink that he's not meant to fight the Night King and die, but to live to be able to lead as a king. You know, he seems to care more about the living and kind of forgive a lot more than Cersei or Dany, Daenerys. Sansa has a good claim, I think, and I think he respects Sansa a lot. And right at now, so Sansa and Tyrion having to sit back to watch everyone else fight for them, like they realize how smart that they are, how good they are politically, and how they can maneuver things and people and maybe even armies. But as far as actually fighting and making a difference and things like that isn't them. And they just realized how unimportant they can be in the scheme of things. When the battle has to be fought, they can't do anything. They're helpless. So I think that's kind of another big character arc they can go with. And the thing is, I can't see them as becoming great fighters. They're not going to be great fighters, especially in the next episodes. They're not going to start picking up a sword and learning how to fight and beating opponents. So what happens with them, I don't know. What happens with those two characters? I mean, their purpose was always pretty good in the first place, so I don't see them changing their goals at all. So I don't get that part. I don't get what the focus is on with them failing in the crypts and like the whole crypt scene, except for maybe the fear that they're all gonna die there. Oh yeah, thank you, Ian. Have a good night. Yeah, I mean, who knows? I always like to imagine myself in the story. Like, if I was the character at that moment, what would I do? It's like, oh, okay, so I breathed dragon flame on him, didn't affect him. Well, I've got a freaking dragon. Just step on the dang Night King and see what the Night King does. And I mean, because she was pretty close by. Yeah, so the prophecy, that's gonna be fulfilled. Now the interesting thing is the guy that Tyrion relied on to save him in the early seasons, and paid him a lot. I forget the guy's name. Bronn. That's right, Bronn. So Bronn has been tasked to assassinate the Lannister brothers and to reap big rewards. I think we're gonna run into Bronn the next episode. I have a feeling that Bronn is gonna switch sides. Because I just feel like that's he's not one that's changed, and he's a smart enough fella to understand that I don't think they're gonna win if he goes on Cersei's side. That Cersei's just not gonna last. But I think I don't know. I think what's gonna happen is that Crossbow is gonna be handed to Tyrion, and Tyrion is the one that's gonna kill Cersei with the crossbow, just like he killed his father with. So he kills both his father and his sister with that crossbow. I think that's how they're gonna have it. So I think that's the part where the prophecy gets fulfilled. I don't think Jaime would do it. Jaime's not gonna kill Cersei. As much of a Kingslayer he is, he's not the same Kingslayer. And if he does kill Cersei, I think it'd be with his sword, and that's pretty intimate thing to do. I think what might happen is it gets close. I think he's about to do it, and then probably gets stopped, and then Cersei gets shot, and then we look to see who it is, and it's Tyrion. So I think that's probably how it's going to pan out. If it does, who knows? Or if it doesn't, who knows? So I just feel like it's already done. I mean, this episode just kind of, we know who the people are that carry on. There's one dragon left. The dragon probably gets trapped. I don't think the dragon will die yet. Who knows? But I have a feeling that Cersei's gonna lose. That's easy to see. But who dies in the aftermath is another thing. I think the most overlooked part is what's Bran's story in all this. He's survived. He's still got the third eye raven. He's got foresight and all that jazz. He's got a lot of powers still. There's nothing stopping him. People who care about him aren't going to kill him. The Night King's dead. Night King's not going after him. But does he know that? Does he know there's something else? And the entire time he's been under during the fight in episode 3 is we don't know what he was doing. We don't. He could have been helping out Arya, but I doubt it. Just that little part. So he was doing something, but we don't know what it was. We'll probably end up knowing in a later, I doubt, maybe episode 4, maybe episode 6. Maybe it's that's gonna be the twist, is what he was doing during the battle. So let's see. Jaime will become the Queen Slayer and King Slayer and Sister Slayer. I don't know. I think that's too much for Jaime at this point. I don't think Jaime would do it. Oh, if the prophecies aren't fulfilled, I think Brienne of Tarth might kill Cersei Lannister. I think she might do it. Then, I mean, the prophecy aside, I think the creators of the show aren't really necessarily going to follow the book or anything like that, or like a prophecy that was made in plenty of seasons ago where they had a little bit of build up, but not really. It was kind of a mystery. Not really, it's just one of those things. But as far as like a story and a character arc goes, like Brienne of Tarth being knighted by Jaime Lannister, Knight of the Seven Kingdoms is supposed to protect their liege, their king or their queen, unless they use Brienne of Tarth to actually kill Dany, because she might be doing something that's worse than Cersei Lannister, right? So that could be her arc. If she doesn't kill Cersei Lannister, maybe she kills Daenerys and she becomes a Queen Slayer, much like Jaime was, and she'd fully understand where Jaime was coming from. But I think she already knows where Jaime was coming from, so that purpose doesn't need to be met. So again, it all boils back to, okay, Jaime might be forced to kill Cersei Lannister again, but he can't do it, and so Tyrion does with the crossbow. That's my prediction. Okay, so let's look. Okay, the prophecy. Yosha, Aegon the First, when he conquered the Seven Kingdoms, he had a weak army and he still took over all of Westeros. Yeah. So Kathy B. Cersei will have 3 children. All will be shrouded in gold. Is she really pregnant? Maybe she might have been. Maybe it will be revealed she had a miscarriage. Who knows? Yosha, isn't Arya going to kill Cersei because the red woman said brown eyes, green eyes, and blue eyes? That could be. I mean, right now they're definitely pushing Arya's arc a lot more than any other. Jaime would become. Nah, we went through that. Well, Arya killed the Night King in the books. I don't even know if the books are ever going to be finished, Joshua Shoemaker, because George R.R. Martin writes only when he's ready to write, and I think the last book he that was published, it took what, 7 years or 8 years. So to get the next book might be another 7 to 8 years, and the next one 7 to 8 years. In 15 years, you might have the end of the series for the Game of Thrones books. So, but the thing is, like Night King, I don't even think the Night King is in the books. At least I can't recall. I have to reread the books again. I mean, like the last book that George R. Martin published, it went on a definite, like instead of focusing on the storyline that he had, he just expanded it. And the problem with expanding it at your 6th book is that you're gonna have to take more time into just kind of refocusing all of that expansion into the central theme or central themes of the original plots or multiple plots. And so I don't think he's gonna be able to do it in 2 books. So he's gonna have to go with 3 or 4 books. The problem with expanding what's great about books is, yeah, you can keep expanding in a series. The problem is if there's no end in sight, well, you kind of lose a lot of people. And what's great is you can add more stuff to it and just kind of builds up on the world building. And that's why I like the books so much, is you can expand and never have really an ending. It just keeps going. Your imagination just carries it forward. But the thing on shows like this is you can't really expand without it really collapsing and having to focus. And that's why I have a feeling after this point with the big battle, all this build up from the earlier seasons, and we always see that in a lot of different shows where there's just a lot of build up in the early seasons, and then I think ratings just start dropping and people start getting worried, and they're going, hey, okay, you got to wrap this up in 1 or 2 seasons. Like, what? We just spent 4 seasons building up. We got to wrap it in 2. So all of that stuff kind of goes out the door with those shows. So, and that's kind of what we're seeing here. We've got six seasons of build up, maybe 7. I mean, a lot of the seasons focused on the upcoming battle with the White Walkers and Night King. So, I mean, that build-up is done, but the side stories, the big the prophecies and a lot of the reveals and stuff, that's happened already. But we don't get any extra stuff. Like, there's still some build-up as to what Bran was doing. And is the Night King really dead? Is the Long Winter over? Is it just the King's Landing fight? I think that would just be too simple for a Game of Thrones show to just end on, okay, now we got the Night King out of the way. We're just going to go and finish off the King's Landing story arc with Cersei, and then we'll just go ahead and, the end. I just think that's too simple. I think there is going to be a twist, and it probably has to do with Bran and the Night King. I don't know. I hope it's something good, because I've been kind of disappointed with the build-up. Let's see. The producer said that the new Ariel will kill the Night King 3 seasons before, so I would guess it would be in the books. I accidentally close this. The heart tree must mean more. Yeah, the tree. Like in the books, the trees were a big deal. That's not really a thing here. I mean, Catelyn Stark gets revived in the books, and the last book has no mention of her, so we don't even know what happens with Cat, and we don't know what happens with Brienne of Tarth. We don't know what happens with Jaime Lannister. That was the previous book before the last published book. So again, like I said, the book expanded on a lot of things. It didn't really close in on a lot of the story arcs. So we don't know where the books are going to go. But the show definitely needs to close within the next 3 episodes. So that's kind of where I want to focus on the show. Yasha, I honestly feel like Game of Thrones level, my dopamine level is way too high to care about other TV shows and movies. It's going to be hard finishing the show. I don't know, the Orville. I'm kind of a fan of the Orville. The second season, I heard good things of the finale. I think me and my wife need to finish off 4 or 5 episodes, I think, to get to the end of the season. So far, it's been okay. I like the first season better. And then we're watching Westworld season 2. Since we've got the HBO thing going on, we're catching up. And Westworld 2 is okay. Not as good as the first season still, but yeah, it's still okay. But yeah, Game of Thrones is still good. I feel like there's just a lot of weird things going on. Like, but it's always been like that. But I feel like it's just, they're trying to close it off too fast. They could have probably dragged it on another season. It would have been great. I don't know why they didn't. I mean, it's not like they're not making a lot of money off of the series. They've done like three different types of shows that they're gonna do, right? That's what I last heard, that they're doing 3 Game of Thrones expansions within HBO. So it's not like they're not doing very well. All right, so let's see. Bran, his whole arc is still a mystery. I mean, aside from the characters I just mentioned so far, all the other stuff is just kind of fluff. Like, does Brienne get with Jaime? Does she get with Tormund? At the end, does Patrick Payne become a knight? Probably. Does Arya and Gendry get together? That's true. I mean, just look and also maybe Sansa. Does Sansa actually stay married to Tyrion? I mean, they had a kind of good moment. So, I mean, think about it. You got Sansa with Tyrion. You got the Lannisters and the Starks united from that marriage. You got Arya and the Baratheons with Gendry as the only Baratheon heir. So you got the Starks united with both the Baratheons and the Lannisters with their marriages, if those hold true. And then of course you got Jon with Daenerys, where you get the Starks united with the Targaryens. So you've got the Starks pretty much married into all the other houses, and which one rules. Like, I don't think Arya and Gendry really care about ruling. So Arya's not going to be the queen. Gendry's not going to want to be the king. So rule out the Baratheons, rule out Arya. Now you've got the hand of the queen right now, which is Tyrion Stark, and you got Sansa Stark, which is just kind of the current Queen of the North, if that's what if she's called, because that hasn't been figured out yet, right? Because Jon was named King of the North, and he kneeled to the Queen Daenerys, and so I guess Sansa would be Queen of the North, but she just wants the North to be free, and I doubt that Tyrion is gonna want to take over and rule. So that leaves Daenerys or Jon ruling. I don't think Jon really cares about ruling, but he would try to do what's right. And Daenerys, as far as her rule, I think would she give? And it's been alluded to again. Would she? Obviously, Jon would give up the crown for her. Would she give the crown for him? And that's going to be the big question. Yeah, Yasha, I agree. Definitely, another season would have been fine. Kathy, it was far too dark and long, but I guess that would have had to be, yeah. So, I don't know. Let's see. I mean, it would be a crazy ending if Cersei ended up winning and keeping the Iron Throne. That would be. It would be a little dark and not too happy. I think a lot of people would be pissed. I think. Let's see. So we've got all the marriages, we got all the houses together under House Stark, and it's just who's gonna rule. And I think Sansa and Tyrion at this moment in episode 3, how helpless they are. They're not the ones out there fighting. They got a bigger purpose, and is to ensure that the ones who were fighting, which is Jon or Dany, end up ruling. Because if it weren't for them, they wouldn't be alive in the first place. And same with the people that survived in the crypts. But again, it was Arya Stark that defeated Night King. And I think the case might be that, I think Daenerys might actually relinquish the throne for Jon to be the king. Or maybe even have it so Sansa would rule. I have a feeling that it's going to be a queen at the end of the show. I don't think Jon is going to rule. Tyrion's not going to rule. Gendry definitely isn't going to rule. There isn't any other male heir that's going to be ruling. There isn't. So Yosha, that would be kind of interesting. Although that'd be a little bit weird. Does Sully still have proof of Jon's right to the throne? Sully? Sometimes I wonder. Okay. So, to prove that Jon is the rightful heir and Targaryen, I think he's going to be breathed on by Dragonflame. That's the only way that he can prove to others that he's a Targaryen. I mean, even though he can fly a dragon, it seems like people don't really realize that that's a Targaryen thing to do. But definitely surviving dragon fire can prove to people. And again, Azor Ahai, that part, I don't know. Is that going to be a prophecy that's going to be fulfilled within the next 3 episodes, or is it just going to be dropped? I think the entire, the real lore, the I'm not saying it, pronouncing it right, maybe, but the god of fire, that in that whole religious aspect, that's kind of been done away with. That arc is done. It's not built up. It's not gonna last. And dragons taking over. Like if the last dragon dies, what power does Dany really have? Her army's decimated. She doesn't have the Dothraki army. She doesn't have the what was that? The other army with the shield and sword, like Grey Worm. You know how he's commanded that army. The Grey Worm doesn't even have an army anymore. Dany has one dragon that's worth a huge army, but she doesn't have the Dothraki. She doesn't even have Jorah Mormont as her personal guard. She's got Tyrion, a dragon, Grey Worm, and maybe a few ex-slaves that survived. That's it. That's all that Dany has. If Dany's dragon dies, she has no more power. So I kind of wonder at the end if there's going to be more dragons. Dragon eggs, at least, that are found and used. Or maybe... I have a feeling the next maybe episode 7... is when the dragon dies. I'm sorry, not episode 7. Episode 6, because episode 6 will be the last episode. So... the last dragon will finally die, but I think kind of the happy moment will be that she realizes she has no control. She has no power without her dragon, so she probably kind of submits and says, you know, all my dragons have died fighting for the throne and fighting for the living, and so, you know, if you no longer want me as queen, then I can't force it. So I think she's going to submit. But then I think Jon's going to say, you know, we wouldn't be here without you and the dragons and their sacrifice. So I think that's where Jon goes. You're still the queen. And I think near the end, someone is going to present dragon eggs to Daenerys and Jon. And that'll probably be the ending. So I think Daenerys takes the throne. She relinquishes it to Jon. Jon says, no, you stay as it. All the dragons are done, so she only has the people who fought for her and with her to rely on as her strength. She can't rely on dragons anymore. But then I think dragon eggs will be presented to her as a final gift. And they'll probably have kids. It'd be interesting if Sansa and Tyrion have kids. Jaime Lannister, who does he hook up with? I would think Brienne of Tarth. That would be pretty cool. Sorry, Tormund. I don't know what happens to Tormund at that point. Maybe Tormund can get with a she-bear or something. He seems okay with bears. I don't know. I mean, there's not many other characters that are alive. I mean, Gendry and Arya, that's going to be another kind of a happy thing. Grey Worm, I would say, dies. I don't think he's going to survive. Gilly and... now, let's see. Samwell Tarly probably gets with Gilly. I don't think Samwell Tarly would be someone who dies. He's like... yeah, he'll probably be appointed at the Citadel. Let's see. That's kind of it, right? Because Beric's dead. He died saving Arya. And, Clegane the Hound. I don't know. Maybe... I would say he's going to defeat his brother. But what happens to him at the end? Maybe he serves as like the part of the King's Guard or Queen's Guard. That would be interesting. And let's see. Davos. What happens to Sir Davos Seaworth? Because he couldn't kill Melisandre, but he wanted to. I don't know what would happen to Sir Davos. I mean, I think he still has a part to play with the Navy battle, maybe. And one thing I always wondered what happened to the girl who saved Bran. Remember, she brought Bran back from the north after Hodor slowed down the Whites, and she was able to escape. And her father was the one who helped kill off the Sword of the Morning against what's his name, Ned Stark, with Ned Stark, to defeat the Sword of the Dawn. I think that's the right name. Like, we didn't see her. Like, that's kind of what gets me is like, why, where did she go? Why is she not around? I would think that she would still be around to fight off the White Walkers. Kathy B, what? I don't know. Let's see. So that kind of sums it up. I mean, there's not many characters left. If you want kind of a sad but happy ending, you're going to have some people have to get together, you know, to keep going, and I think that'll be a happy moment. But we can't have everybody live, because then it feels like the price wasn't paid. It wasn't worth it. So I feel like Bran has a story to play. He's not just gonna have like a happy ending as the Three-Eyed Raven, unfortunately. So there's gonna be a sad moment for Bran. I think there's Jon Snow will probably die. That's probably not gonna be a happy moment. But Daenerys will probably be pregnant. There'll probably be dragon eggs too. Tormund Giantsbane, I think him or Jaime will die. But whoever survives, I think will get with Brienne of Tarth. I think Tyrion survives. Cersei dies. Sansa lives. And again, Sansa and Tyrion will get together. Gendry survives with Arya. So there's not many good people to die. I think they're going to have Grey Worm die. I mean, the biggest person to die was Jorah Mormont. They're not going to have Samwell die. Theon died with a big character arc. What is it? Sandor Clegane, he could end up dying because I feel like I don't think he'll have a happy ending. I think him killing his brother off is like his last thing, but whether he survives after that, I don't know. Really, there's really not many characters, but some characters have to die. I don't know who that'll be. I feel like I wonder if they're still figuring that out. And Lord Varys, I don't know what his part to play is in yet. I mean, maybe Lord Varys survives and he's the one who presents Daenerys with more dragon eggs as a gift to see if she would really relinquish the crown for other peoples. And if she does, then he probably deems her worthy, and thus to protect the Seven Kingdoms, he presents her with the dragon eggs. I think that might be Lord Varys' story arc yet to play. Like he's always been there to watch what's best for the Seven Kingdoms. And so if the ruler isn't going to be protecting it, then it's not going to give them the additional power they need to secure it. So that might be Lord Varys' plan. That could be. He might be a good person in all this. I don't think he's gonna be part of the Cersei crew to have Cersei win. So there's that. Really, it's kind of culminating down. I think it's kind of easy to see where it's going. Unfortunately, we're not gonna get the big send off with the buildup that's been occurring for like the previous 6, almost, I mean, it is 7 seasons. It is the 8th season now. There were 7 seasons, but I would say a good chunk of the first couple of seasons had a lot of buildup, especially the first 5. Then they knew they needed to start to wind it down, and a lot of focus was on King's Landing, and the White Walkers, the Night King, and all the other stuff wasn't as focused as much. And like, we are not going to get to see the direwolves again, unfortunately. That's a shame. Like, we might see Ghost again, but I think that might be it. He might die with Jon, or maybe he might save Jon. So we might see Ghost die, and having Ghost die would be a sad part, but you know, a good thing that he was able to do. That would leave a happier ending for Jon and Dany. So there could be that. That's kind of it. I think I'll end it on that. I mean, I hope you enjoyed this part. I might do another one on the next episode to see exactly where we're at. But again, I think episode 4, this next episode, is gonna be a build-up episode. It's kind of it's gonna probably show how strong Cersei's army is at King's Landing, and see how small the army is currently at the Starks. And we'll probably see what Bran might have been up to, because it's like, so like, Bran, were you doing anything during this battle? It's like, could you tell us? Can you give us a little thing? Is it all done? Is there no more White Walkers and Whites and Undead? Are we finally rid of all that? And Bran's gonna probably have to give an answer, right? Is it gonna be a cryptic answer, or is it gonna be a straight up answer? That's gonna be episode 4. I would think it's gonna be a cryptic answer. So we're gonna see build up at King's Landings with Cersei. We're gonna see regrouping of the Stark and Daenerys army, whatever's left. Obviously, I don't think they're able to defeat them with the army that they have. So, or they can be trying to find a third army. Where's that third army going to come from? And the people who didn't come to fight, against the Night King, they can be dealt with before they march on to King's Landing. I don't know. Maybe that's all happening in episode 4. So that's it. Well, we won't know until we see next Sunday. I mean, it's just kind of good to gather my thoughts on this and hopefully discuss stuff with people. But chat is what I have. All right. Thank you. And we'll see you guys next time.